Good morning. Welcome to Walking Boxing. It is Monday, December 30th, 2024. So the second last episode of the year. And I don't know, a lot of people say the year goes quick. I suppose it does, especially when you sort of get to late 40s, early 50s, whatever it is, or even older. It tends to go a lot quicker. But I was looking at a lot of the events of this year and the highlights and the results and all that sort of stuff over the weekend, and look, it seems like a lifetime ago, some of these fights. So when you go back to March, late March, whatever it was, with the Tim Tszyu Sebastian Fundora fight, that was obviously one of the lowlights of Australian boxing this year. But there's been so much jam-packed into this year, and everyone at the moment's doing the end of year specials, and I will be doing one as well tonight. A little bit different to what a lot of the other sites are doing. And the major sites, of course, they've got the usual fighter of the year, the prospect of the year, KO of the year, round of the year, all that sort of stuff. We'll probably go over a little bit of that, but I'm probably more interested in more the year in review as a whole, and just maybe throwing up a few, especially in the format I'm doing it with Talking Boxing. I've obviously got to give the audience that are watching a platform as well. So I'll probably just be throwing up some examples of what I think, and then let everyone else discuss it and choose what they sort of think. And again, I was going to do some polls and all that sort of stuff, but there's so many of those at the moment, and the bigger sites do it, and that's great, and they probably get a more accurate reflection of what people think. So as I said, I'm just going to do more of a year in review of Australian boxing month by month. There's been a lot happening, and it's not until you actually go through month by month and promoter by promoter and fighter by fighter to realise what a year it's been for Australian boxing, and world boxing, of course. And I suppose when it comes to fighter of the year, we're looking at the obvious choices in Alexander Usyk. It could be pretty hard to beat, I would think. But I'm looking at other guys like Naoya Inoue, Canelo Alvarez, maybe Terence Crawford. Only had the one fight, but I mean, it's, to me, again, I'll let everyone decide, but I mean, it's pretty hard for Alexander Usyk to be beaten, I would think, beating Tyson Fury twice. But as I said, Canelo's had 2 good wins for the year. Inoue's had a couple of good wins as well. Would have maybe been 3 last week. So yeah, Jesse Bam Rodriguez is the other one's had a good year. So I think overall, as I said, Usyk will be probably the obvious choice, but there's been some really great performances on the world stage this year by numerous fighters, and again, it just shows the state of boxing at the moment. And a lot of that has to do with Turki Al Sheikh, with the Riyadh season. He seems to obviously be the most proactive guy out there at the moment. And I suppose with promoters like Eddie Hearn and Oscar De La Hoya sort of being dragged along with it as well, as sort of a joint effort by everyone. But geez, we've had some great cards and some great fights, great rounds, great KOs, all that sort of stuff. And it's been a really good year to look back on. And things like prospect of the year, someone like a Moses Otama's been great, Abdullah Mason's been great. Actually, speaking of Abdullah Mason, you would think that his last fight, that first round with the what was his name, the Mexican guy fought, would have to be round of the year, wouldn't it? Just, I think Mason got dropped twice and his opponent once, or the other way around, I can't remember, but just from memory, that was definitely in the mix for round of the year. Fight of the year, I don't know, there's so many, isn't there, that sort of stand out. I mean, what exactly is fight of the year? Is it just action-packed? Is it the most skillful? Is it the most back and forth? Is it the most competitive? I don't know. I mean, I look at fights like probably the first Fury and Usyk fight for me. It wasn't the most action-packed, as they say, as far as, it wasn't exactly gutty and ward, but what I liked about that fight was the to and fro, the momentum swing, the drama of round 9. I mean, I thought that was one of the best fights of the year. Not so much the second fight. Even Beterbiev and Bivol to some extent. Again, it wasn't the most exciting fight, but also obviously controversial. A lot of people either way for both fighters, and that's what generates a fight of the year thing, when there's so much conversation back and forth and debate about who won. Or is it just purely action? I don't know. I mean, as I said, I really loved that aspect of that fight, in that, again, it wasn't the most exciting fight, but the closeness of the rounds, who are you watching? Bivol with his really classy boxing, or Better Biv with his aggression and his power punches. It was, oh, we've got a horse here. I turn around there, you can see him there. Oh, no, you probably can't see him because it's on face. There it is. There's a little fella. I'll get Neil out the way though, because we don't want him. Come here, buddy. Come here. Come here. Hey, buddy. All right. We'll get out the way there. I don't think Neil's seen a horse, but I'm not sure, by the looks of things. He looked like he wanted a pat, but I'm a bit dubious about patting other people's animals, even if he's friendly like that. But so yeah, I mean, there's other ones in there. I mean, Inouye's fight with Nuri, and I mean, there's just, I don't know. It's really hard just to go through them all off the top of your head, because it's just been such a busy year, and each show rolls into the next, and each fight rolls into the next. But again, I'll review it tonight and get a lot of your points of view as well. And on the Australian scene, I know we sort of spoke a little bit about this a couple of weeks ago. Has it been a great year for Aussie boxing or not? I mean, even looking at, I'm going to do the pound for pound list for the world, but particularly the Australian one. And it's amazing that probably fighters 2 through 5 have all lost their last fights. Tim Tszyu, Jason Maloney, George Kambosos, and Liam Paro have all lost their last fights, but they probably still make up 4 of the top 5. So does that automatically say that it hasn't been a great year when 4 of our top 5 fighters have all lost the previous fights? I don't know. I just think the fact that they've been in those fights, I think, outweighs that. And again, this is the argument, isn't it? Has it been a great year? I mean, we don't know what's going to happen with Sam Goodman. He was supposed to have fought last weekend. He would have been the 21st Aussie to fight in a world title, or 21st fight including an Aussie in a world title fight this year. And I did actually, I think, earlier say it was only, he would have been the 20th, but I actually forgot about Lynn Sandstrom, who fought for the WBA minimum weight title, I think it was. I can't remember. It was the WBA title anyway. So yeah, so we've had 20, could have been 21. It will be 21, of course, on the January 24th, and Jai Opetaia's fight's coming up as well. I'll speak about that in a sec. But so, Tim Tszyu with the 2 fights, Jason Maloney with the 2 fights, Liam Paro with 2, Jai Opetaia with 2, Andrew with the 1, Liam Wilson with the 1, Zarafa with the 1. I mean, it just goes on and on and on, doesn't it? But I think what people rate Australian boxing on this year is unfortunately it's all based around Tim Tszyu, and I think everyone's basing what they think our year has been like just on him. And let's face it, I mean, it was a disappointing year for Tim. Isn't it amazing that, and again, I've spoken about this in other episodes, particularly after the Murtazalia fight a couple of months ago, but a year ago, Tim, on top of the world, looking to move to America, looking to really solidify his spot in the 154-pound division, maybe go up to 160, and a year later, come here, ma'am. Another dog there. And then, a year later, 2 devastating losses this year. The Fundora loss in Vegas, his first loss at the T-Mobile, his first headline event, which is such a shame. And then to get that second world title fight in his next fight, which was a really good job by his management, and we all saw what happened. So, Liam Paro, I don't know, I'd still regard his as a win for the year. I mean, that Sabril Matias fight was just amazing. Jason Maloney, at the same, had a really good win in Canada. Disappointing loss in Japan, but it was always going to be tough to win there. It's just one of those years. Who knows? But again, it'll be up to you guys to judge. But I think outweighing that is the emergence of Jai Opetaia as that really elite pound for pound fighter on the world stage. you know, I understand, well, he beat Breeders for a second time, which was great, but I understand he hasn't had that real legacy fight yet, and I'm sure they'll come. But when I was doing the pound for pound list, I'm thinking, geez, he's right on the edge. Right on the edge is Jai Opetaia of the pound for pound list, world pound for pound. That's just in my opinion. And I think if he could get over Azurdo Ramirez, I think that would tip him over the edge and put him in the top 10. Because I don't think fighters like Gervonta Davis and Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson and these types of guys are doing any more than what Jai is. And I just think Jai, he fights more regularly, he's improving all the time, he's willing to fight the best. I just think he's very, very close. I've done the world top 10. I did have one little surprise in there that might get a little bit of a pushback from some fight fans, but I'm pretty adamant he should be in there. I've also done the female Australian boxers as well. And yeah, it's not as easy as it used to be. You know, you got the usual fighters, you know, Sky Nicholson, Shanika Johnson, who else won the world titles this year? Shay Keneally, Desi Robinson has made a push. So, and Shannon O'Connell, the old warhorse, is back, and you've got young fighters like Josie Parr and Taylor Robertson coming through, and Louisa Horton back on the scene. So the girls are looking good as well. So anyway, we'll go through it all tonight. But it's just been a fascinating year, and even on the world scene again with the promotional front, I said before that it looks like you've got the top 3 now, or was it 4? Is Frank Warren really made a comeback as well, didn't he? He wiped the floor with Eddie in the 5 versus 5, and you know, it almost looks like you've got Turki Al Sheikh along with, well, he's not, is he the actual promoter? He is, isn't he? I just thought he might have worked in conjunction with Eddie and Oscar, but those 3 together, throw in Frank Warren in there, top rank, just doing their thing. They haven't really stepped out of their comfort zone either, have they? And that's going to change as well now. They've parted ways with ESPN. But the big one for me is PBC. They've just fallen off the cliff. At the start of the year, I can't remember how many shows they were promising. I think they did 1, maybe 2 for the year. Really, really bad news for PBC, and you almost get the feeling that they're just going to be forgotten about and just become irrelevant if they're not already. So that was probably that on that side of thing, and no doubt there'll be other promoters coming through, but that just a bit of a shake up this year, that the elite promoters really sorted themselves out and really separated themselves from the rest of the pack. So the other thing is, guys, is the Jai Opetaia fighters. There's only what's that today? What is it? 9 days away. 9 days away. I got a phone call over the weekend from Mick Francis and the promoter of Jai, and I'm actually going to head up there, and I've got to say it was such a welcome phone call, and a breath of fresh air, because I'll explain why. Now, I was maybe looking to go up there anyway. I was sort of even though it's very, very close and it's holiday season and all that sort of stuff, I was going to go, but then I wasn't going to go, and then I was going to go. But I got a phone call from Mick Francis, who's really made the decision for me, and he rang me up and he said, look, what are you doing? Are you going up? And I was like, oh yeah, I suppose, yeah, maybe. He said, well, let me know if you're coming up, so you know, we'll look after you, as Mick always does. One of those low-key type of promoters, sits in the background and just gets the job done quietly. And he said, when are you coming up? And I said, oh, if I come up, I might just come up the day of the fight. I don't know, you know, go home the next day. The weigh-in is at lunchtime, so it might be a bit of a stretch to get there that morning and everything else. And he said, look, why don't you come up on the weekend? There's like 4 days, I think, of events leading up to the fight. I think Sunday there's an open workout and a VIP get together or something, and then Monday is a press conference, and what else did he say? Some meet and greet or whatever, and then Tuesday, of course, is the weigh-in and all that sort of stuff, and then Wednesday is the fight. And I said, oh, that sounds okay. And I said, yeah, but you know, how do you go with getting in a press pass? He said, mate, he said, we need people like you at these events. So it really took me back, or took me aback, I suppose is the right word, or set me back, because normally people like me and the bigger sites are almost kept at an arm's distance by promoters, and you've got to almost beg these guys and you know, offer your firstborn just to get a press pass and get access to these these events like the press conferences and that sort of stuff. Wayne's a sort of hit and miss. You can get in or you don't, depends on whether it's a public thing, and sometimes it's a real ask, and they make you feel about this big asking to try and get in there, which is why I don't usually do it. I'll go cover the events, no problem, on my own terms, my own money. I'll pay my own way up there, pay my ticket to get in, all that sort of stuff, and I'll just cover it that way. But because, as I said, like, you're almost discouraged to come by a lot of the promoters who just feel that you're an inconvenience and everything else. But for Mick to say, no, we want and need people like you, even though I'm only small, he wants people like us there, us sort of the big YouTubers, the smaller YouTubers, social media sites, all that sort of stuff, to be there, because the more eyes on his event, the better. And this is what I like about his thinking. He's not thinking, oh, I got a guy, but he wants to come in and sit in the press row and buddy do his YouTube thing. But he sees it the other way, in that the more eyes on his event, the better. And whether that's the big sites or, come here, man, the big sites or the small sites, it all matters. And it was a really good feeling to have someone like Mick say, hey, I want you to come up and cover the event. I'll give you all the access to all the events. And I did actually say, well, mate, you realise I'm just small. He said, I don't care. He said, mate, I'm trying to reach out to all social media content creators, as I said, YouTubers, whatever it might be, and get them at these events, because this is what's going to push our events forward. The mainstream media don't give us a lot. And he said it would surprise you how many people sort of look at not just my channel, but, you know, before the fights, the Jay McAllisters, the Oz Boxings, of course, Australian Boxing Central, all those ones. Those guys are probably the bigger ones, but there's a lot of other YouTubers out there or content creators who just sort of get shunned and aren't welcomed into those events. And I really like the attitude of Mick saying, you know what, hey, I don't care how big you are, there's room, we'll make as much room as we can for whoever it is, whether it's the big guys or the smaller guys, because you guys are what is going to drive our events forward and get more eyeballs on the events. And the biggest thing is, there's no attitude or ego or this sort of stuff about, well, if you're lucky, we'll give you a pass, which is sometimes what you get. He's like, mate, get there and I'll look after you. And I'm sure he's had that same conversation with a lot of other content creators out there. So it was a real breath of fresh air. And I will be there. I'm going to head up on the Saturday night, which is, well, this coming weekend, the 4th. When I got off the phone, I thought, yeah, I better start planning. I thought, shit, it's only a week away. So I'm going to go up on the Saturday night and I'll do the open workout and everything on the Sunday. We'll still probably do the talking boxing, but I'll do that from the Gold Coast. Might even still do walking boxing, but unfortunately Neil's going to stay at home and I'll do it on the beach or something up there in Broadbeach. So, and then I'll do my best to cover the whole event, and of course fight night as well. So again, to Mick Francis, thank you very much for thinking laterally and not having your head stuck up your ass like a lot of these other promoters do, who, as I said, treat people like me, like second-class citizens sometimes, and forget to open their eyes and think of what content creators, no matter how big they are, can do for the event or their events these days. So anyway, a little bit of a rant there, as well as a thank you to Mick Francis again. So guys, I think that's going to do it for today. Again, not the most exciting one, but there's not too much going on this time of year. But make sure you tune in tonight to Talking Boxing, and we'll do the year in review, the pound for pound list, some memorable moments from my point of view and your point of view, and we'll, as usual, just talk about whatever comes up during the telecast. So have a great Monday. You can see here it is a beautiful day. I'm going to jump in the car and head to work. I've got a lot to do to get over the Christmas period and prepare for New Year's, and then it'll be a little bit of a spell after that. So guys, have a good one, and we'll catch you tomorrow.